This is our first Friday live for the Unconscious Bias Project. It's really exciting. If you've been following us for a while, you know that we haven't been very much on social media, but everyone is adapting to the big changes that we're having thanks to the pandemic. So we're going online. I'm going to give folks a few minutes to come on up here. In the meantime, I'll just give you a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you what is the Unconscious Bias Project for those of you that are joining and learning about us for the first time. I'll tell you a little bit about our story, how we got to being who we are, the Unconscious Bias Project. Also tell you about our hashtag Together Against Bias series of resources that we're rolling out. What does that look like? What are we going to be covering? And then I have a big announcement at like around 3:10. So stay tuned for that. Very, very exciting. Let's see here on my paper. I also want to give you a preview of what we're going to be rolling out in the coming weeks. We have so much amazing collaborations and programming that we've worked on together that we're really excited to bring you. Let's see. And I also want this live session to be an opportunity for you to share what resources you're using right now during the pandemic and what resource you'd like to share with other folks, as well as questions that you would like answered by us in our next live session. Okay, so if you are on live right now, could you give us a like if you can hear me, if the video is good? Okay, a like or a heart. I can do a heart too. I like hearts. Okay, great. I also, before I get started, just to let you know, I have like a 15 to 20 second lag. So if I don't get to your question or your comment immediately this time, just make sure, just know that I will definitely look at the comments and I'll be addressing them in the next live session next week. Okay, so what is the Unconscious Bias Project? So the Unconscious Bias Project is a nonprofit that is just about 3 years old now. What we do is we bring evidence-based, really easy and practical resources to use to reduce bias and to go against racism and discrimination at all sorts of levels. And we've been doing this both for classroom spaces, educational spaces, as well as workplaces, whole organizations. If you've been with us for a while, then you'll know that we've had all sorts of different audiences, everywhere from California state senators to tech companies in San Francisco to our most recent event was the California Welfare Directors Association. We interacted and gave workshops to California welfare directors. So our work hopefully has impacted, around 13 million Californians, which is really exciting. So what is the Unconscious Bias Project doing now? We're with you, we're in the middle of this pandemic. Everything is jumbled. It's twilight. It's scary. There's so many things going on. And we started seeing an uptick in what people were reporting of racism and xenophobia against Chinese Americans, all Asians and Asian Americans. And I think the most recent report was that in the last 2 weeks, they've seen 1,600, I believe, cases of shunning, harassment, and outright hate crimes to Asians and Asian Americans in the state. So that's a lot, and we're obviously very upset about this. And we, I started getting angry, responding to people on social media like, hey, why are you calling it this, virus? And I was using some of the tools that we used in our workshop, and I had this aha moment of like, wait a second, we have all these great resources. We have all this, history behind us of how we've done the research, found the tools that work, tested this out with like hundreds and hundreds of people in all sorts of different settings, and people are really learning these tools. Why don't we bring those out to the public right now, specifically to target the racism and discrimination that's happening during this pandemic? And as you have probably seen in the news by now, the racism, the discrimination isn't just towards Asians and Asian Americans. The pandemic is worsening the inequities that people have already been facing. That means everyone, including Black folks, Latinos, any other people of color, farm workers, low income, people without housing, people with disabilities. It's just getting worse and worse. And so that's why we wanted to put together this Together Against Bias series, to give people those resources that we have already tried out, that people already love, and to try to make a difference right now. And what we're doing, our goals for the Together Against Bias series is twofold. The first is that, bringing those resources. And the second is to amplify the voices of those being affected by this, new wave of discrimination that's happening, or not really new, but enhanced wave of discrimination that's happening to so many people. And has anybody out there read our Medium piece? That's one of the many things that we've put out now. If you have read the Medium piece, go ahead and comment into the box. Yeah. So one of the many ways that we're trying to bring these resources out is to use all the mediums possible. So we're doing all the things. We have Alexis. Shout out to Alexis for stellar writing. We're going to roll out some articles that detail some personal, interpersonal tools to reduce bias and fight racism in real time, either in person if you're at a grocery store, or online if you're seeing some sort of problematic posts from racist uncle somebody or other. And we want things to be really practical, really easy. This isn't like, here's the 10th step, to practice this 30 times, a day. This is something that you can do in seconds, and all you have to do is remember to do it. And as soon as you practice these tools, as soon as you start consuming and using these resources, you're already going to start making a difference. What else do I want to say? Right. So we're rolling out in multiple different ways. We have articles. We're doing short videos that some of you might have seen on our YouTube page, or we're also posting it on Facebook. We're using all our social media. So if you are on Instagram, you can follow us on Instagram now. Search UBP_STEM. We're on Twitter, again, UBP_STEM. We're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, and obviously here on Facebook. And you can search us there at Unconscious Bias Project. So articles, videos, we're doing live, Facebook Live. And really exciting, we have just secured our first interviews for podcasts. We're going to roll out podcasts where we're interviewing folks that are either doing something to fight the racism and xenophobia that's happening right now during the pandemic, or they're being affected by this discrimination that's happening during COVID-19. And then with them, we're going to be asking them, like, hey, what kind of resources do you need? How can we be better bias buddies? How can we intervene in those moments of bias? Or is there like an action that we can, do together to really, really start making a difference right now? Because people need us right now to come together and really be a community and act as a whole against this discrimination. Okay, we have some more new people following us. Hi, thank you so much for joining. What else do I want to say? Oh, yes, huge announcement. We're really excited. We are going to, so the Together Against Bias series is going to be over the course of another 4 weeks. So this week and next week, we're focusing on Asians and Asian Americans and the hate crimes and discrimination that they're facing. We're putting out resources specifically tailored to that. And then in the next 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on everyone else who's been impacted by the pandemic. And I say everyone else, but it's so many people. People with disabilities, farm workers, low income, people without housing, people that are considered essential workers, people that have been affected by the prison system, Black folks, Latinos. So we're going to have a whole bunch of really great materials, really great interviews and videos around that. And so the super big announcement is that we're in the works developing a party. We want to have a community party. So this will be either May 5th, maybe May 10th, May 11th. I'm just checking out my calendar. And, it's still in the works, but we're hoping it's going to be a really huge blast, really great music. We'll just all be able to actually see each other and hang together. We will have been by that point on this journey, learning about tools for bias reduction, learning, getting awareness on what's happening, what's affecting different communities, and how can I be of help, right? We're all at home and sometimes we feel powerless. But this is something that you can do. This is something that, you don't need to have money to do. You don't need to have a big platform to do. Bias reduction can happen for you. What else do I want to say? Here's my big notes. Right. So this week, our focus is on the personal and the interpersonal. If you've checked out my video, I talked a little bit about it. If you checked out the article on Medium, you can see some of that information there. So let's talk about this. So bias, discrimination, unconscious bias, how does this all come together? So discrimination, really, really easily, okay, something that's racially, that's racist, right? But unconscious bias is when you've been essentially been absorbing all those negative stereotypes from media, from people, from the news, from leaders, all around us, and they just sort of simmers in our unconscious, and then we might act or think in a racist way without having that intention at heart. And with the vitriol that's, really lashing out at Asians and Asian Americans right now, we're all being bombarded by this. So what can you do for your own personal unconscious bias that you can start sort of countering the effects of all of this, negative stereotyping of Asians and Asian Americans? Well, one really easy thing to do, which I really love, is to adjust your media diet. So a media diet is really talking about what are the articles, what are the videos, what are the things that you're consuming, what are you reading, what are you watching, what are you listening to? And all you have to do is just decide, okay, I'm going to, for example, watch a TV show that features Asians or Asian Americans in a way that's not stereotypical. I'm currently binging. Yeah, I'll confess, I'm binging Kim's Convenience. It's a really great TV show on Netflix. Other things you can do are consume books or podcasts by Asians and Asian Americans. One of them that I can give a shout out to right now is Filipino Garage. Filipino Garage features Filipinos of all different shapes, sizes, and forms, and all their different jobs and professions that they do. They talk about their lives. It's a really great way to get to know people. And that, changing your media diet can do a lot of different things for you. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that. You can find more on our website about media diet and what adjusting that can do for you. If you have a favorite book, comic book, podcast, maybe a DJ you really like, some music, or movies or TVs that feature Asians and Asian Americans that you love and you want to share with other people, go ahead and put that into the comments, and we'll put a little list together for specifically for the Together Against Bias series. So that's just for yourself. So your personal bias, your personal unconscious bias. So what do you do, in those like really awkward or really tense moments? Say you're in line at a grocery store 6 feet away from each other, and you hear somebody use a slur against a fellow, Asian shopper in line. It's actually, those moments are so tense, and it's really, really hard to speak up, but it only takes one person breaking that to make a difference. And all you have to do is practice, like figure out what you would say, and then practice saying that. And then the next time it happens, you are ready with what you're going to say. So, for example, one thing that I've practiced is saying like, hey, that person is not a virus. Really simple, maybe kind of silly thing to say. Or you can just say stop, or you can observe it. That's one of the tools that we teach in our workshops. You just observe it, like, hey, that was sort of a uncalled for comment, or, that was really mean. That was out of line. I don't think you really meant to say that. Can even give that person a benefit of a doubt. And then one really important thing to do, especially because, we're all trying to isolate, right? So when we go to grocery stores, we're not like with our friends, we're surrounded by strangers. So just being that one person that speaks up and says, hey, that's uncalled for, or that's rude, or that's unnecessary, I don't think you meant to say that, is helping everybody around you that's experiencing that interaction. And they're like, wow, yes, that's right, that's wrong. And then, you can actually, there's been studies around this where you see the effect of that one bystander sort of breaking the seal and actually saying something about it. It's really powerful. So you can practice something like that. And the sort of accompanying part to that is you should always check in with a person that's on the receiving end. They might be alone, or they might, need either emotional or legal, or, hopefully not, but police resources around whatever incident is happening. And you can definitely check in with them without having to obviously get further into that 6 feet distance. And we really recommend you do that. So those are two like really easy things that you can do on a personal and interpersonal level to intervene in moments of bias, or to help counter that barrage of negative stereotypes that we've been getting from all sorts of different sources, to start countering that bias and discrimination against Asian and Asian Americans. One other thing that you can do that's really fun is participate in our Together Against Bias pictures that we're posting online. Here's my sign. So just, make a homemade sign that says hashtag Together Against Bias. Tell us, you're saying no, against, I'm saying no to racism. I'm saying no to xenophobia against Chinese and Chinese Americans. My family, we're behind, and we're the community that you can rely on. We are those bias buddies. And we can all come together against bias. That's what we want to do. We want to sort of connect people. If you imagine you just had a terrible thing happen to you at the grocery store, and then you come home and on your Facebook page, you see all these people with their hashtag Together Against Bias. You can feel not alone, because that's the thing, you're not alone. And so in the last minute, I want to ask you to please comment. What resources are you using that you'd like to share? Maybe drop a media diet suggestion that you really enjoy. And what resources do you need? Are you in a small business? Are you in a large company? What kind of resources do you think your groups need? And I'll try to address those with our next Facebook Live and our articles that are coming up soon. So come back here next Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be here. You're not alone. Let's do this. Let's do Together Against Bias. All right. Bye, folks. See See you next week.